Hey, yo, in this video, I'm going to break down how I believe there's really only two types of artists and what that means for you if you're looking to build a career in the entertainment industry. Hey, yo, what's going on? My name is Ruslan, hip-hop artist, creative entrepreneur. This channel exists to encourage, empower, inspire you to live out God's dream for your life. Basically, live your God-given potential. And if you're new here, consider subscribing. Some of you guys know me, some of you don't. That's okay. I've been a full-time artist for 3.5 years. July 2019, it'll be 4 years. Completely independent, been able to travel the world, live off of my art, and it's been a blast. And so this video is going to be a little bit different as I'm going to be talking to fellow creatives, rappers, aspiring rappers, musicians. This kind of applies to a lot of different areas, but as you guys know me, I'm an artist. I'm a hip-hop artist to be exact, and I'm going to be primarily speaking to and from the perspective of hip-hop artists and how things have kind of been historically and what that can mean for you if you are looking to get into the music business or build a career in music, making money off of your art, all that kind of stuff. And it's very, very basic. It's very simple, but there's a shift happening that I think could really help a lot of us out that are looking to build and do something different. So before we get into that, King's Dream Entertainment, that is the name of my boutique label, and we have an album coming out from my man, my guy, Mr. Honey Blonde himself, John Keith, dropping December 14th. If you're watching this after December 14th, it's all good, but I want to show you guys some of the merch bundles. They should still be up later. We got a hoodie bundle right here, $39. Physical signed CD, limited edition, signed CD, hoodie bundle, $39 shipped. There's quite a few different designs that I think you guys will appreciate. That's God, Adonai, Elohim, me, and the team. Anyway, you can check all that out on kingsdream.com/store. I think you'll appreciate the merch bundle. Before we get into the video, hey, big shout out to all the patrons that's been supporting this channel. If you don't know what Patreon is basically just a monthly way that you can give to help build what we're doing here at King's Dream Entertainment, to help us make upgrades to the equipment, keep the lights on, all that kind of good stuff. Tiers start as low as $5 a month, and there's some pretty amazing perks. So if you're not a patron, consider becoming a patron. If you are a patron, salute to you. Thank you so much. Your support is truly appreciated. You are what keeps us going. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of this. Now, historically in music, we've expected our artists, our entertainers to kind of look one way. And listen, there's multiple ways you could do this. I'm speaking on a very macro level in terms of what I believe to be a mainline type of artist that's been out there for a very long time. And then all of a sudden there started happening a shift within the last 10 years or so that I think is going to create a lot of opportunity for a lot of different emerging and up-and-coming artists. So let's just look at a little bit of history. We're not going to go too far back, but this is historically how we've seen our artists as superstars, as bigger than life. I mean, look at Michael Jackson in this picture, right? The king of pop himself. This is in the 80s. So when he won a bunch of Grammys for Thriller. That's Quincy Jones standing next to him. If you don't know who Quincy Jones is, man, go check out the Quincy documentary on Netflix. It's incredible. Well worth the investment. It will inspire you in a major way. But Michael Jackson's standing here. Gang of Grammys in his hand. Look at his jacket, all the glitter, the sunglasses, the shades. This man looks larger than life. This is like iconic status, rock star stuff. I'll show you some more pictures. Of course, the ruler himself, Slick Rick. In hip-hop, a gang of gold, a gang of jewelry, fly clothes, designer clothes, all that kind of stuff. Of course, we have Jay-Z, Beyonce. Jay-Z's a dude from Brooklyn, super flashy, always kind of talk the cloth talk, very aspirational, right? These are people that we look up to. We look up to these people. We are inspired by them. We aspire to be them in a way. We may not say that out loud, but especially with a Jay-Z Beyonce billion-dollar couple, right? Jay-Z's the guy that started from nothing, made it to become one of the biggest pop stars in the world. Same thing with Beyonce. And the way they're dressed, the clothes, all that kind of stuff, it's intended to have the allure of rock star, megastar, pop star. Of course, we got another shot of Michael. This is really going back to like the old school rock and roll days, right? Artists had to look like artists back then. You had to look over the top. You had to look different. And that still applies to some of you guys as you're building your brands. You have to look different to some degree, right? My man Brandman Sean defines branding as, can someone dress up like you for Halloween? If the answer is yes, then that is what defines a strong visual brand. And so, man, historically, artists have always had very strong visual brands for the most part. But that slowly started shifting, and there's still strong visual brands, but it's not the same iconic megastar, over the top, you know, a gang of jewelry, you know, glittering jackets, sunglasses inside vibes. So let's keep going. Of course, Kanye. I mean, look at this chain, like the oversized chain, the red leather jacket, kind of inspired by Thriller, the sunglasses, all that kind of stuff. Kanye with the multiple chains, the white suit, the jewelry on, sunglasses inside. Of course, Meek Mill, who I believe has kind of been evolving and transitioning to this second type of artist that I'm going to be talking about. But I think Meek Mill here always been known as like a flashy dude, real aspirational, motivational. He posts money on Instagram, says for motivational purposes only, to inspire people. They see him with money, let them know that they can get money as well. This has been the model. This has been the prototype, especially in hip hop, 90s hip hop. If we remember the bling era, over the top jewelry, right? This is reminiscent of it. Troy Ave is another artist from Brooklyn, really known for his aspirational, flashy money, all that kind of stuff. But something interesting began to shift. Something interesting began to happen. And I'm not sure exactly when it happened, but I think it started to happen around the time Kendrick Lamar really exploded. And this is like 2010, 2011, 2012. Something happened where all of a sudden regular looking guys who didn't wear a gang of jewelry, who didn't wear over the top clothing, started to be recognized and be popping. And I remember watching Kendrick's come up, watching Kendrick grow and slowly build his platform. I remember it was 2012. It was right before Good Kid, Mad City came out. I was actually backstage at the Pay Dues Festival. My man Murs, who's the homie, got me tickets, and we ended up being backstage and kind of hanging out with the TDE guys a little bit. And Kendrick was about to go on, and he was wearing, you know, the flannel tied around his waist with the cool distressed jeans, and he had some boots on and had another denim jacket. He was just really fly. And then the next time I saw him live, he was wearing just a hoodie. It was similar to what he has on, just a hoodie, black pants, black shoes, real basic outfit after Good Kid, Mad City came out. And I remember this is so evident in terms of the branding of Kendrick Lamar. I don't even know if it was branding or what it was, but Charlemagne the God on The Breakfast Club actually said this.
Said this guy wasn't going to make it.
I did not say that.
Didn't take him serious.
I never said that.
What did he say, Angela Yee?
I'm going to tell you exactly what Charlemagne said.
Tell him exactly what I said.
And before I say that, I just want to say, I've always been a fan of Kendrick Lamar, so I'm very excited that your album is finally about to come out.
October 22nd, right?
October 22nd.
Why they always do that to you? They always do that to you.
No, Charlemagne said you don't dress like a star.
And that was 2 years ago.
And that was on a casual night.
He probably called. I had some basketball shorts on or some house shoes.
Yeah, he was in the bowling alley. I thought he worked there.
He said you wasn't going to make it.
I never said that. Did I ever say that, Yee? I said Kendrick gets busy.
No, but you know, no.
He
said,
compared
you know what he did say
That's
at
a
first?
lie.
Kendrick, I'm going to keep it all the way real. He hadn't really heard a lot of your music.
Yeah.
And he didn't understand what all the hype was about.
And then I started listening maybe a week after I saw you, and I was like, okay, this kid gets busy.
Say sorry to that man.
For what? He still look like he working at a bowling alley.
Designer jeans.
So I think somewhere in the last 10 years or so, maybe it goes back before this, but I think somewhere we started to have a shift in music and entertainment as a whole, where we stopped looking up to artists and stopped looking for aspiration and motivation in someone that we want to be like. And we actually started seeing artists that we saw ourselves in. We saw a bit of ourselves in them, how regular they were, how normal they were, how down to earth they were. Maybe they weren't the best looking. Maybe they didn't dress the coolest. Maybe they didn't have all the jewelry and flaunt a bunch of money. We saw a bit of ourselves in their stories. We saw a bit of ourselves maybe in the way they looked or the way they didn't look. And we started to see more of a human connection happening. And this is especially true on YouTube, where we follow a lot of the personalities and YouTubers that we kind of see ourselves in. And if you have that connection where people connect with you in a really deep way, it can build some rapport with your audience. And so I think that happened around the time YouTube exploded, around the time Kendrick Lamar exploded, but I'm not exactly sure. I feel like that's when it happened in hip hop. And now we're in a really interesting spot where, of course, we have JCole, right? Multi-millionaire, record label executive, Dreamville, but he's dressed very basic. Here he's wearing a jumpsuit. A lot of times he's just wearing like a throwback jersey or like some basketball shorts and a t-shirt. There was a joke on JID's album that, J. Cole's mad rich, but he looked like the homeless dude that want to ask you to borrow his charger, right? So it's like, it's an interesting dynamic, but I'm not saying these guys are doing this intentionally either, by the way. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that I think there's this interesting dynamic where people are allowed to be themselves, and we subconsciously actually are attracted to that even more than some superstar with a bunch of chains on. Ed Sheeran, right? There's a bunch of controversy recently on Twitter because Ed Sheeran was performing next to Beyonce. Beyonce's wearing this beautiful dress, and Ed Sheeran is just dressed like a super regular dude, right? He's not flashy, he's not over the top, he's just super duper regular. And I think that's hilarious that this was even a thing. And they were talking about, yeah, this is male privilege, Beyonce has to be dolled up and Ed Sheeran could just kind of look like a bum and it's all good. I don't know if it's that. I think people see themselves in other people and there's a connection there. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, Post Malone. This to me is probably the most obvious one, right? Like Post Malone, a regular dude from Dallas who moves to LA with some of his homies that are gamers on YouTube. He's kind of hanging out, crashing on their couches, making music, and then White Iverson comes out. And he has this look, he has the braids, he has the grill, right? And you see it and you're like, wow, this is cool. And then people actually heard him interview and heard him on The Breakfast Club and were like, whoa, this brand doesn't match the personality, right? This brand doesn't match the personality. This is really weird. And he was just like, look, I like cornrows. I like this. I like that. I'm not trying to culturally appropriate. This is just who I am. And he's not like the best looking guy. He's not super duper shredded. He's not in shape. But people see themselves in him. And no matter how much they try to make him, or not they, I guess he tries to look cool. He tries to wear designer clothes. He got a bunch of face tats now, which I think are just terrible, but it's neither here nor there. He's in a cool suit. They just did a makeover on him recently. No matter how much they try to do to this guy's look, he still looks like this guy. Like, it's still the same guy. Like, it's still the same goofy looking, gumpy guy from down in Texas who made it. And it didn't click to so many people. Like, why is this dude so connecting with people? Until we factor in, it's more about connection. It's more about relatability. It's more about seeing yourself in someone, not just to aspire to be like someone and be motivated by someone something is doing on a bigger platform, but to actually identify with someone that's maybe more regular, maybe not as good looking as the most coolest celebrity, the most fly celebrity, the most in shape celebrity. So it's a very interesting time that we're in, and I think it creates a lot of opportunity for a lot of different people who are looking to get started. Now, I'm going to show you guys an example of this that I think if it was tweaked and adjusted could actually work out better. And this is what I mean. Some people start out aspirational and then they become more human, right? I would say Meek Mill is someone that came out super flashy. He's kind of, I would say, part of that old era. And then he kind of took some L's with Drake, and then he released a video of him slipping on Christmas, and it's just like a bunch of weird stuff that kind of happened with him. And then he recently, as he's had all his legal troubles, I think people started cheering for him. I think people started seeing, wow, this is not just what's happening with him. He's been on probation for a decade over, supposedly, allegedly pulling a gun on some police officers. He says he never did it. He's going back and forth into jail. This last time he went in for popping a willy and like really, really petty stuff. This man's losing his freedom. I think people started cheering for him and started wanting to see him win. We started seeing ourselves in Meek, and he became more human. And I think right now, if you guys have been paying attention this past week, there's been a lot of media coverage, not media coverage, but there's been a lot of interviews and a lot of talk about this artist named Troy Ave out of Brooklyn. Now, Troy Ave is a flashy dude. Like I said, you know, historically been known to be flashy. This is him. He's actually facing a murder charge for the Irving Plaza shooting in New York, in Manhattan. There was an Irving Plaza shooting a couple years ago. His best friend and bodyguard got killed. It's a whole bunch of mess. You could do the research yourself, but this is him showing up to court for this thing he's being charged with. He's out on bail. He's showing up to court in a mink coat with a hat that says, like, you know, it has like a drug reference on it, and he's wearing a bulletproof vest and Gucci shoes. Like, this is him showing up to court. And he continues to, I wouldn't say he's like a negative dude, but perpetuate this like flashy, over the top thing where I think he's hopefully making an intention to be more human and show himself as more of an underdog to get the public behind him, so that when you actually understand what's happening to him, he lost his friend, a lot of people can relate to heartache, that you can identify with him in a deeper way, which will sway the public's perception the way it did with Meek Mill. He goes on a Breakfast Club recently. He has a son in his lap. He's, you know, it's like a warmer, friendlier, still flashy, but I hope, I'm not sure if this was intentional, but I hope it was. Like, I hope this was intentional to be more relatable, really. Now, if you're an artist, you're on the come up, you're building your career, maybe you're a YouTuber or something like that, what route should you take? Well, I don't think it's a good look to try and off the top be some motivational guy that people want to be like. Because if you haven't accomplished anything and people don't know you for success and don't see a proven track record, it's going to be difficult for people to get behind something they don't understand, especially if you're coming off over the top, flamboyant, super duper flashy. And so I recommend, man, tell your story, make yourself human, make yourself relatable, talk about the things you struggle with, talk about the things you're dealing with, talk about the things you wrestle with. Share the human side of you, because that's probably going to make you more likable. You don't have to come in over the top, flashy, flamboyant, because it might rub people the wrong way. I think in the case of Troy Ave, it rubbed people the wrong way a lot of times. I know earlier in Meek Mill's career, like, I would watch him and I'd be like, yo, this dude is arrogant. Like, I'm not really on that. Like, I don't really care who you are, right? And so I think it's important to find that story that you have and to share that through your videos, through your messaging, through your music, so that people can relate and connect with you more. Now, I think the ideal is to be a combination of both, right? To be a combination of both human and relatable, while at the same time being successful and being aspirational and motivational to other people. I think someone that does that very well is Drake, Aubrey Drake Graham, right? Drake is very normal. He's very like guy next door, but in his music, he's very flashy. He's very flamboyant. He talks a lot. He talks a lot of trash in a way, right? He's quick to jump into a beef and throw some subliminals, and he's also quick to talk about girls and make himself more vulnerable. I think he's the culmination of the best of both worlds, and I think there's a place and a time to share those things as you're becoming more successful. Now, Drake is obviously a good-looking guy, and he's, was modeling a little bit. He was on TV. I think he's always kind of had that advantage of being an attractive dude. But I think someone like Post Malone, as maybe not an attractive dude, being more relatable, that might be the route for some of us. Now, I think someone that started off relatable and started off human, right, but then switched up and is becoming more aspirational, more motivational is Kendrick. Kendrick started off way more relatable, and then he's kind of evolved with growing out his hair. He's dressing a bit fancier now. If you watch his tours, he has these like Bruce Lee kung fu suits on. He's Kung Fu Kenny. He's in GQ. His hair is braided. He got the mink on. He's kind of a fly guy all of a sudden. He's not running around wearing a hoodie anymore looking like the janitor. He's kind of the man now. And there's a level of like, oh man, I remember seeing him come up and I remember relating to him, but he's really cool as well, right? And that's what this all goes back to, is like cool factor, coolness. are you cool? A lot of kids are trying to be cool. And so what they're doing is they're putting tattoos on their face. They're coloring their hair weird colors. They're doing all kinds of weird stuff. So I think that is one aspect of it, is like trying to be cool, trying to appeal, while at the same time, the second thing is like motivational, aspirational, right? Like sharing your accomplishments, but in a humble way. Now, regardless on which route you're going to choose, some of you guys are going to, you know, be more over the top, more outspoken. Regardless, I would say you still need some type of visual brand, something to distinguish you. This is probably one of the biggest mistakes I've made over the years, is not understanding this fully, right? Like I was the guy that kind of always dressed regular and kind of had my hair buzzed early on, and I didn't really stand out. I was very, very like basic, regular looking dude. And so now I'm being intentional about what I'm wearing. I'm being intentional about just growing my hair out, looking different, right? A lot of artists do that. JCole, Kendrick, guys grow their hair out. Why? Because not a lot of people have long hair. People dread their hair up, all these different things. You still have to have a distinguished look. You still got to look different if you're trying to be an artist, period. It's just going to help you stand out. Again, Brandman Sean, salute to him. He talked about a compelling brand is, can people dress up as you for Halloween? Maybe initially Kendrick Lamar, he just had a regular fade, black hoodie, can't really do that. Like that's not really a costume. But now he has the braids, he's dressing a little more flamboyant, he'll wear the Bruce Lee outfits on tour, all that kind of stuff. He has a more distinguishable brand. But again, remember, Kendrick had the Dr. Dre cosign. So you have to find that balance between, are you a aspirational, motivational artist that people want to be like, or are you being human, being relatable, being someone that people see themselves in? Are people looking up to you, or are people seeing themselves in you, and that's why they're connecting with you? For me, this channel, there's things I do intentionally, like try to have good cameras, try to have nice equipment, try to have nice lighting, good color correction. I'm trying to make a quality product so you guys could see it and be like, yo, like Ruslan is dope. This channel looks dope, right? But I'm also sharing a lot of details and a lot of intimate things about my life. I'm sharing my family with you guys on the family vlogs occasionally. I'm sharing my thoughts on things. I'm going on live. I'm really allowing people to get to know me so that they could see themselves in me, that I am like a lot of you guys. Like I'm a Christian immigrant, refugee, independent, married rapper, and I've been full-time for 3.5 years. I've defied all the odds, right? And this is crazy. And that should hopefully, you could relate to all those things to some degree. And you could say, man, if Ruslan has gone this far, I think I could do it too, right? And then there's things I'm doing with my fitness, my body, trying to get in shape. Why? So that I have the credibility and have that as a distinguishable feature of my brand, to be both motivational and aspirational as well. So that's kind of my thought process on where I'm at, man. And so I would say, if you're starting out, consider that visual aesthetic, consider that brand. Don't overlook that. Don't ignore all these different things. Consider them, but at the same time, be relatable. I would not recommend anybody starting out that you go the over-the-top, flamboyant, flashy, and get tattoos on your face. I just don't think that's wise. I think to some degree you're gonna want people to buy into you and not buy into just a visual gimmick. But hey, man, the gimmick works. Most of these new rappers on the auto-tune, mumble rap wave, hey, it's working for them. Can't deny that. So anyway, in the comment section below, I want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think? You think this is accurate? What type of artist are you aspiring to become? Do you want to be someone people can relate to, someone they could identify with, someone they could see themselves in? Or do you also want to have a level of motivation, aspiration, someone they want to be like? Thank you so much for checking out this video. I appreciate you guys. Make sure to like, share this video. Peace.